Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody. It is hump night. I guess there's hump day. I guess there could be hump night, but a very fast week because, again, there is never, ever a slow news day, evening, overnight, then simply during what has been the complete and total collapse of the Democratic Party as far as just having any moral compass, like whatsoever. And, you know, what we saw out of Minneapolis with Alex Pretti, this was a guy who approached Border Patrol agents, federal law enforcement, with a 9mm semi-automatic weapon, 2 magazines of ammunition, that's over 50 bullets if needed. Why would you need that kind of ammunition? No identification. Confrontation ensued. Pretti was shot. It is now under investigation. It is unclear whether Border Patrol, in that case, followed proper protocol, but it's the narrative that is really taking a hit tonight. As far as Alex Pretti just being an ICU nurse in a VA hospital, just as Jimmy Kimmel said, just out there, just trying to help his neighbors, right? Just out there, just peacefully protesting. Well, little problem. There's a video that came out today from about a week ago, or a week before Pretti was shot, showing him spitting at an ICE officer's vehicle, giving ICE officers the finger, okay, and then kicking in a taillight, breaking off the taillight. ICE agents get out. There is another physical confrontation, and Pretti apparently either here or in another confrontation that we haven't had video of yet, had a rib broken. And you would think at that point that this guy would have got the message that maybe you don't want to be a physical agitator of federal law enforcement. And if you watch the video, and you probably have by now, it's everywhere, this is clearly as a person begging for trouble. Does that mean he should have been shot and killed? No. But is the big key here. Did Border Patrol agents, given this guy's reputation, given the fact that he was armed, given the fact that he did not tell federal law enforcement agents that he was armed, or why did he even bring a firearm in the first place to this particular area? Again, he wasn't protesting. He was in a staging area. All right, you are begging for something very, very bad to happen. So I don't want to talk about the legal aspect of this. I'm just talking about common sense here. And most of you out there, 99% of you, would not do what Alex Pretti did, as far as not once but twice bringing a firearm and then attacking law enforcement, as he is with the van right here. I'm watching this video over and over again, kicking it so hard on several occasions that he busts off the tail light. And then obviously ICE agents have to get out because they're trying to arrest what was or is a person who had committed rape in the country illegally. And this guy is losing his mind over this, saying, I have to protect this person, I guess. I mean, just completely deranged. Meanwhile, let's play Ana Navarro, who somehow is not employed by one network, but 2 networks really, really need this analysis from perhaps one of the dumbest people in this industry, which is really saying something. But here she is, before this video came out, talking about how, you know what, if you're a dad like Joe Concha, didn't use my name, but just in general, I have a daughter. If you're a dad like Joe Concha, Alex Pretti is just the guy you want your daughter to date. This is cut number 14. Go.
They chose to, they killed the wrong guy, right? Because this is like the perfect guy. Alex Pretti is the guy you would want to date your daughter. The guy you would want your son to grow up to be a decent human being who was serving humanity, serving sick veterans there is nothing that has been said about that man that isn't wonderful. And so they can't malign him. They can't malign him because we have the videos.
Oh, apparently, Anna, you didn't have all the videos at the time now, did you? Because if you saw the way this guy was acting, I am certain that no decent father would let this guy anywhere near their daughter. And by the way, there are reports also that he left, Alex Pretti did, that VA hospital weeks ago, and has kind of gone rogue, obviously getting caught up in all of the I guess he's a big fan of Tim Walz because Tim Walz only called the ICE agents in his state the Gestapo. Meanwhile, you ever hear this stat? 25% of all ICE arrests occur in the state of Texas. Why is that? Because Texas is truly a border state. And I don't see any riots going on in Texas. I don't see any agitators attacking ICE agents. You almost hear about nothing in Texas as far as all the arrests that are going on, and yet they have 12 times plus more arrests going on in Texas than they do in Minnesota. But Minnesota, that's where all the problems are because of the leader's rhetoric from Walz, from the human broomstick who is Mayor Jacob Frey, and obviously from the Ilhan Omars of the world. Speaking of Ilhan, by the way, just a quick update on what happened last night where she was doing a town hall in Minneapolis. And then this guy just walks up to her and sprays her with something. But he has a clear shot, so to speak, with the spray and sprays it on her body instead of her face, which was odd, right? But then what was even more odd is that, let's put it this way. Let's say you're a public figure, right, in this environment, and then some whack job walks up to the podium where you're speaking, puts up his hand, and then sprays something at you, right? I am certain, I know what I would do, all right? I would say, my God, this could have been some sort of poison. This could have been something bad, right? This is after security came in and tackled him. And I would say, all right, let's call 911. Let's make sure that whatever was sprayed on me isn't something that's going to make me sick or kill me. Instead, Omar, in this case, again, she wasn't sprayed in the face, which was odd, right? Because if that was the goal, how do you miss? Exactly, not exactly a tall person, Ilhan Omar. Sprays her body, and she wasn't even remotely shocked. Like, if something like that happens to you, that's a jarring thing, right? Because you don't know what this person's true intentions are. And then she runs towards the guy, which is also very odd. Because if he's armed with something that could be poisonous, right? Some sort of mace, some sort of anthrax, I don't know. It could be anything. And Ilhan Omar, you run towards him? Almost as if you knew nothing was going to happen. The whole thing looks very, very odd, right? And there are some online saying that this looks obviously staged. Look, I don't know. I just know that the whole thing is weird. And you see somebody who's under a scrutiny that Ilhan Omar is right now as far as fraud in the state of Minnesota, and particularly Minneapolis, that city. And obviously Walz and Frey are under investigation. Omar can't be too far behind. And it just feels like it feels very Jussie Smollett is the best way to put it. I'll just leave that one there. Anyway, getting back to this Alex Pretti person who, again, there is now video of him attacking an ICE vehicle, spitting at it, throwing up the middle finger, kicking the taillight in, not once, but twice, to the point where then it breaks in half, falls off, and then ICE agent's obviously forced to come out because he's trying to disable the vehicle. And then a confrontation ensues. So this guy clearly not the peaceful protester that everybody is making him out to be, but a professional agitator who was begging for confrontations with ICE. And now, we at least have two on video as far as we know. But here is Raphael Warnock. He is a senator from Georgia. Now, this is ground zero, Minneapolis. So even though you're a senator from Georgia, Warnock decided to go to Minneapolis today, not for the weather, being minus 15 degrees or whatever the hell it is up there, almost like it is here, basically. And he tells MS Now, or whatever it's called these days, at the Pretti vigil site, which does exist, that it's like standing, right where Jesus was buried. this is holy ground. This is cut 13. Go.
There really are no words. It was a deeply moving experience. As I said, I felt like I was standing on holy ground.
Oh.
Alex Pretti's blood cries out.
Ground. Holy ground. Okay. Here's what could have prevented all of this. It goes back to leaders in Minnesota, and particularly the Minnesota Police Department in this case. Because, again, if you do the kind of damage that Alex Pretti did to this ICE vehicle, again, you say, Joe, it's just a headlight. Well, it's still a federal law enforcement vehicle that was on its way trying to make an arrest of a rapist. And then this guy does damage to that car in an effort to obviously impede that arrest. Yeah, that's a felony. And yet we're talking about how this guy stands on holy ground? It's just, it is remarkable what we're hearing out of Democrats right now. Remarkable, not in a good way. Meanwhile, here is the altercation in question. This is cut number 10 of Alex Pretti a week before he was shot, going after ICE, and we had to beep out some things. This is cut number 10. Go.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Pretti interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy.
So they used AI to make sure that they were talking about the right person here, right? Because it would be, horrible if it was like, well, that guy looks like him. Yeah, I guess it is him. They used AI, and there's a 97% chance that this is Alex Pretti. And then, sure enough, his family did confirm later that yes, that was actually him in the video. But I do like the narration there where Pretti had an interaction with ICE. Now, interactions like doing the tango. Like, interaction is shaking somebody's hand. Interaction is not the word I would use here if you watch this video. It is a clear incitement of law enforcement, but that's what the BBC was able to determine from a video from another kind of fringe news organization. But the video is the video. It doesn't matter really where it comes from. Meanwhile, of course, Zohran Mamdani, this is like the Super Bowl for him right now. Here he was on CNBC, a financial network, talking about how ICE is just so cruel and inhumane, and, they're doing nothing to improve public safety. The guy who once called the NYPD racist and anti-queer, he knows all about law enforcement. Anyway, this is cut number 7. Go.
I said to the president directly that these ICE raids are cruel and inhumane, and that they do nothing to actually serve the interests of public safety, and that public safety is of paramount importance to us. It's the cornerstone of an affordability agenda. But to use it as a justification to pull people out of their cars, out of their homes, out of their lives, it is completely contradictory to what New Yorkers are seeing and what Americans are seeing.
Again, he says, pulling people out of their cars and out of their homes. People. Oh, like American citizens, Zohran? Or are we talking about those in the country illegally who have committed horrific crimes? So that's the whole thing. It's this whole conflating of normal, law-abiding American citizens here legally and those here illegally who have committed rape, murder, sex trafficking, child trafficking. And he just says people. Right, this is the way this whole thing's being portrayed right now. And Mamdani running New York, doing what he wants to do here, it is going to be like, remember the David Dinkins days of the early 90s? Worse than de Blasio, worse than all of these things, because if you just don't get the basic tenet that federal law enforcement is here to make you look really, really good, like it is in Memphis, like it is in New Orleans, two cities with the highest murder rates in the country. Well, they used to, now seeing overall crime down 50, 60% in those cities because of a federal presence to make those mayors look better. You would think he would embrace it, but of course this is Mamdani protecting his voter base and those who love those sort of folks as far as the far, far left. He is kowtowing to them. It got him elected as mayor, but in a hurry, we're going to see that crime stats are going to start to go back up, and he's going to have no answers for it. And the NYPD, I just feel so sorry for you because, you got a great commissioner and Jessica Tisch, but I don't know how long she's going to put up with this. And quite frankly, your NYPD, so many have already left for places like Florida where they really are appreciated, where they know that their mayor does not hate them. Despite all of the words they said during the campaign, what he wrote back in 2020, 2021, 2022 was unambiguous, and it was absolute loathing of law enforcement. That has not changed in New York City, and now New York, unfortunately, is about to find out when he fights ICE at every turn here, just like they do in Minneapolis, and we're going to get the same exact result because chaos to Zora Memdani is a ladder. This is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, God, Minnesota really creates some real winners, don't they? Including former Governor Jesse Ventura, also a former MSNBC host. I'm not making that up. He now is become, I guess, very anti-Trump and even wants Minnesota to secede and become a part of Canada, which I'm not sure too many people would really object to that. I mean, I guess as long as the Vikings can continue to play the Bears, kind of a rivalry, but why not? Anyway, this is cut number 16. Go.
I'd like to see Minnesota, all of us, become Canadians.
Okay.
Secession
and
is
make
the solution.
Make this part of Canada, because it's obvious Donald Trump don't want us.
He's not alone. Look, I have a couple of friends I've met over the years from Minnesota. It's not about Minnesota. Quite frankly, when you get outside of Minneapolis, it's a red state. It's Iowa meets Wisconsin. So, I don't know. Can, like, Minneapolis just go to Canada and they could have another crappy hockey team? You know, they haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, right? I believe that was the, let me think about that. Montreal Canadiens beat the LA Kings in 5. Somebody could look that up for me. Anyway, the point is that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if Minnesota, Washington State, Oregon can go. Yeah, I'm thinking Oregon. California, I guess we'll keep California. There's a lot of, like, good things about California. Not the leadership, of course, but I guess we could live with that. But otherwise, Illinois, again, that's a red state outside of Chicago. Let's face it. Hawaii can go, I think. We could get back Hawaii. I'm not going there. Massachusetts, no good. I think we could lose that. Rhode Island, yeah. Rhode Island's like the size of a postage stamp. Delaware, no real love for Delaware. Yeah, I could see us being like the 38, 39 states of America. Get rid of some of the problems, and we'd be all set. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show in all 50 states and around the world. Back with so much more. We're going to have some fun in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Well, I'm going to have to drain my savings account here a little bit because the Trump accounts are now providing free savings for millions of babies, and it's already proven to be quite popular. This was just announced, and already more than 600,000 American families already signed up for the program. Formally launched today. This is all according to Treasury Secretary, perhaps the MVP of the Trump cabinet right now. I got Marco Rubio right up there too, and obviously J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth, quite frankly, for just some of the obvious Operation Midnight Hammer, taking out Iran's nuclear facilities, the snatch and grab of Nicolas Maduro. So we got plenty of great candidates here as far as MVP of the Trump administration 2.0. But you look at the numbers, and this is really remarkable. According to the Council of Economic Advisors, okay, if you make the maximum contribution to these Trump accounts, right? Let's say you have a baby that's born between January 1st of 2025, so obviously that was last year, and December 31st, 2028. Well, maximum contributions can get you $303,000 by age 18, nearly $1.1 million by age 28. Sounds good. Almost too good to be true, but yeah, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. Family members can contribute up to $5,000 per year with the child's funds available once they turn 18 years old. So, it makes sense. Imagine if you started investing in some sort of aggressive way for yourself right when you got out of high school or college, whenever you started working. If you just put away, say, 10% of your paycheck, not just like individual stocks. Like, yeah, if you bought Amazon 20 years ago, congratulations, you're basically a millionaire. But if you just invested maybe in the S&P 500, right, safer kind of bets like gold and silver, for example, I could go through the list as far as things you could invest in, and if you turned around, better than being underneath your mattress or sitting in a bank account earning almost no percent. So this only makes sense. And if Bessent is the person that's behind this and Trump is promoting it, you can bet that you look at Scott Bessent's resume and you look at it, you can't look at his bank account, but there are estimates. The man got quite rich by making the right investments. He's probably like the Warren Buffett of the Trump administration. That's certainly a good thing. Anyway, I do want to talk about Marco Rubio, meanwhile, because that is really something that I think, well, first, let me just talk about Bessent, talking about these Trump accounts real quick, because, again, these numbers are eye-popping, and if you're going to have a baby in the next 3 years, or they even say, even if you have a kid who's under 18 right now, you could still start to buy into these accounts. So it's not just for babies. I have a 12 and a 10-year-old, so again, no-brainer, but here is Scott Bessent on the Trump accounts at birth. Cut number 8, go.
The compound growth from Treasury's initial seed funding alone stands to make young Americans wealthy. Assuming historical growth rates continue, a single $1,000 deposit into a Trump account at birth should grow to an estimated amount of at least $500,000 by the age of retirement.
Wow.
The $1,000 seed from Treasury is exclusive to newborns. But keep in mind that any American below the age of 18 is also eligible to receive a tax-advantaged Trump account to begin saving for the future.
Makes total sense. And I'm old enough to remember George W. Bush. This is 2004. He wins re-election barely. If Ohio goes the other way, I believe John Kerry would have been your president in that election. Another close one that people don't talk about all that much. But after Bush won, then he said that he had the capital to push forward on his agenda. And number one on that list was to privatize Social Security accounts, which then the left went absolutely ballistic and said, oh, this isn't a casino. You don't play with people's money that way, even though it was optional if you wanted to privatize your Social Security savings. And I can guarantee you, if you look back from just, again, basic growth from 2004 through 2026, and if you privatize your Social Security savings as opposed to letting the government just let it sit there, almost earning no interest, if any interest at all, you'd have a lot more money in that account right now. So they were wrong about that. And if anybody criticizes this, they're wrong right now as well. Investing over a long period of time, it ain't nothing but a good thing. You can't just pick and choose like moments to buy and sell. Of course, you could do that with individual stocks, but overall, if you just consistently invest into different retirement accounts, different long-range accounts, they could be low risk. Like I mentioned, minerals are always great. You're doing pretty well for yourself, and Scott Bessent certainly understands that. Meanwhile, speaking of the another MVP candidate within the Trump administration, this man will be president one day, maybe not 2028, maybe not 2032, but keep an eye on 2036. That Marco Barron Trump ticket should be quite exciting. But even, let's say J.D. Vance decides, I got a fourth kid on the way, maybe I don't want to run for president right now. If Marco Rubio ends up being the nominee, no way you lose. If you watch him today with Democrats trying to take shots at him, this guy has command. The 2016 Marco drinking a lot of water and having no confidence in his arguments, or at least seem scripted, that is gone, long gone. And you can't lay a hand on this guy. And the amount of the Hispanic vote that he would bring in as well, I know I'm thinking like ahead here in a completely hypothetical situation, but if you gave me Marco Rubio at the top of the ticket, I'd say he is absolutely unbeatable. I also think that J.D. Vance would be a very, very strong candidate as well. But if I'm looking at the strongest candidate to put on the Republican side right now, I think it is Marco Rubio. I do. And here is the proof. I'm going to back this up right now. This is outstanding. Tim Kaine, who was like Tim Walz before there was Tim Walz. Remember, Tim Kaine was Hillary Clinton's very forgetful running mate in 2016. Here he is calling narco-terrorists murder of when Pete Hegseth and the U.S. military hit narco-terrorists on obviously these drug boats heading to the United States. Kaine goes on to call them shipwreck survivors and said the U.S. military was responsible for murder. Anyway, here's Tim Kaine, cut 3. Go. If we have it.
Share with you the grim details of the murder of shipwrecked survivors in open waters that we all know because we've seen the videos.
Yeah, shipwrecked survivors. You know, then I heard that, oh, no, actually these boats were headed towards Europe. Not really fishing boats. They're not the SS Minnow. It's not Gilligan, the skipper, Professor, Marianne, Ginger. Again, everybody always took Marianne over Ginger. I got the cute aspect, but Ginger, I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? Obviously, the Howells on the SS Minnow as well. But the point is that they were not headed towards Europe because those boats weren't getting across the Atlantic, certainly. But could they be headed towards, U.S. shores? Yeah, probably. And I don't see Venezuela really, doing too much about this right now. And obviously, you see fentanyl deaths in this country just plummeting. ER doctors going on social media saying they used to see several people a day from fentanyl overdoses and deaths, and now maybe see one every couple of days. That is because the U.S. border is shut down. Fentanyl is not coming in this country anymore, and cocaine on the buy. Yeah, cocaine, by the way, is very dangerous as well, killing tens of thousands of Americans per year. Anyway, here is Rubio responding to Senator Brian Shantz. He is a Democrat from Hawaii, of course, and Shantz asked Rubio, Schatz, excuse me, are you going to publicly commit to no regime change in Cuba? We're not going to do anything like that, would we? And Rubio responds, well, it's a masterclass. Cut 4, go.
Will you make a public commitment today to rule out U.S. regime change in Cuba?
Regime change?
Yes.
Oh, no, I think we would love to see the regime there change. We would like to. That doesn't mean that we're going to make a change, but we would love to see it change.
Yeah, I think so. Just like we're going to see changes in Venezuela, we already are. Cuba, it will not be close behind because as Venezuela falls, as does Cuba, and that has been just a horribly run communist country for far too long, obviously going back to Castro. It's time for them to fall next, and if we have allies in the region 90 miles off our shores like Cuba is, that is a much better thing than having an adversary, which Cuba has been for many, many decades. Finally, here is Rubio. He was asked by Jackie Rosen, a senator from Nevada, okay, boy, you have all these jobs, so who really is leading U.S. foreign policy right now? And Rubio, again, this is the answer that you give here, and he doesn't even flinch. Cut number 12, go.
Have been described as managing the president's Gaza plan. Meanwhile, Ambassador Barrack is leading on Syria policy, while Special Envoy Boulos is appearing to lead on our Africa policy. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask you, I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you, are you the lead for U.S. government on foreign policy?
No. The lead on U.S. foreign policy is named Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States.
Exactly. So she's trying to say, like, boy, you're delegating all these responsibilities out to other people that are leading on Syria and leading on Africa. The bottom line is that Trump is the person, as the commander-in-chief, leading on foreign policy. Can you even name who the Secretary of State was under the Otto Penn administration? Like, think about that, because I had to think about it for a second, right? Tony Blinken, right? The guy who at one point was playing acoustic guitar at a bar in Kyiv to sing about peace. Like, yeah, that was your guy. Now your guy running is the Secretary of State. I think he's going to be the next mayor of, I think he's going to probably coach the Miami Dolphins. I think at some point he's so involved. It's just nuts. And just 100 other jobs, including, just national security advisor. But if you want somebody to have multiple jobs within this administration, it is one Marco Rubio. And his most impressive, by far accomplishment, I think, and I told him this when I interviewed him on this station, at least on WABC here in New York, I said, boy, I mean, you don't get enough credit. You married a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. I mean, that is the ultimate right there, right? I mean, look, my wife, very happily married, Division I track star at Georgetown. I did fine as well, but Miami Dolphins cheerleader, and then you become, U.S. Senator, and then you could be the next president of the United States, and you got a couple of kids, and you play quarterback in college. That's a good life so far for Mr. Rubio. I think he's still only 54, 55 years old. Only. It's now the new 34. Oh, boy. Anyway, let's leave it here because this is just so pathetic. It's the only word I'm looking for here. There apparently is a guy running for attorney general in Ohio. His name is Elliot Forhan. All right? Attorney general, top cop in the Buckeye State. And he actually puts out this social media. So it's not like he was taped saying something, he didn't know he was on mic, or he texted something to somebody and it got out, much like Jay Jones in Virginia, who literally wished death not only on his political opponents, Republicans, said he would piss on their graves, and then even one guy that he especially hated in the Virginia legislature said that he wanted not only that guy to die with 2 bullets to the head, but it's also for his wife to die and his 2 young children at ages 4 and 2 because they were little Nazis. And he still got elected. That is the most unbelievable story, I think, of 2025, that Virginians in the Commonwealth still elected an attorney general who wished death on his opponents, including his young children. So that's the new normal, I guess. And this AG running in Ohio, Democrat, just basically goes on social media and declares that he's going to kill Donald Trump, the guy who survived already 2 assassination attempts. This, unfortunately, is cut number 9. Go.
Hi. This is Elliot Forhan, candidate for Ohio Attorney General. I want to tell you what I mean when I say that I am going to kill Donald Trump. I mean, I'm going to obtain a conviction rendered by a jury of his peers at a standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, based on evidence presented at a trial conducted in accordance with the requirements of due process.
A trial of what?
Resulting in a sentence duly executed of capital punishment.
Capital punishment.
That is what I mean when I say that I'm going to kill Donald Trump.
Will somebody get the FBI over to this guy's house, not tomorrow, not next week, now? And he tries to couch it in, well, no, I'm going to do it through the legal system. Some things are missing in there if you couldn't hear me. He talks about how he's going to have a trial and he is going to convict Donald Trump. Doesn't say of what exactly, though. And then whatever he's going to convict him of, which he does not define, then that will result in capital punishment of a former president, I guess, at the time, if not a sitting president. And that's how he's going to kill Donald Trump. This person actually said that with a smile, like a big grin on his face, so happy because he knew this would go viral. And now I would think, again, FBI should be going to this guy's house because obviously that is something that shall not stand. But I guess he has a shot, maybe not in Ohio. That's as red a state as it gets right now, right? I mean, it's like Alabama, basically. It used to be a bellwether. I talked about how the 2004 election came down to Bush versus Kerry, and if Kerry won Ohio, he would have been the 43rd president, or 44th, I guess, in that case. But Bush barely pulled it out, and that used to be a state that was, where as Ohio goes, so do elections. Not anymore. I mean, Ohio is red. It's gone. It's as gone as Florida, basically. Florida, gone. Used to be, again, a 50-50 state. And you see this map that came out today, confirming what I've talked about before on here, where California is going to lose 4 electoral votes, and New York's going to lose 4 electoral votes, and Illinois is going to lose electoral votes. And I believe Wisconsin's losing an electoral vote, and Pennsylvania as well. When you add it all up, you're going to have a net gain of Trump-won states in 2024 of 12 electoral votes. That is a lot. That is a ton in elections where, again, it comes down to a handful of states. And even if the Democrat in a future election wins Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, they still have to pick off 2 Trump states. In other words, they still would have to pick off Georgia, which now has clean elections, and Arizona. Again, people are paying attention, unlike they weren't certainly in 2020 when so much could be done under the guise of that whole pandemic. So, yeah, Democrats will now have to sweep the Rust Belt, which increasingly is becoming more and more red, and then pick off 2 other red states, possibly in the Sun Belt, like maybe Arizona or Georgia. Not sure we see that happening, but they're in big, big trouble moving forward. As, again, all of their policies have consequences. So when more and more people move out of California because it sucks, and New York because it really sucks, because of the high taxes and because of the crime, and they move to places like Florida, which will gain electoral votes, and Texas, which will gain electoral votes, and Tennessee, which will gain electoral votes, or South Carolina, same thing. This eventually is going to tip the scales where the population will represent truly the Electoral College. They screwed it up in 2020 when they did the last census. They're going to right that wrong here. And Democrats, as far as national elections, could be in trouble for a very, very long time, especially if they're moving to the Mamdani AOC wing of the party. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So the White House put out 4 simple requests of places like Minneapolis and other cities across the country and towns when it comes to ICE operations. Here they are. Number 1, turn over all incarcerated or active warrant criminal illegal aliens for immediate deportation. Number 2, transfer all criminal illegal aliens arrested by state and local police. Fair enough. Number 3, assist federal authorities in detaining criminal illegal aliens wanted for crimes. Sounds good. And number 4, Democrats must work with the federal government in the rapid removal of all criminal illegal aliens. It's that simple. End of chaos. There is nothing unreasonable about that whatsoever. You either are against crime or you're for crime. It's like being for cancer or against cancer. I think all of us are against cancer, just like we're all against violent criminals, especially those who entered the country illegally. And that is what the White House wants. Meanwhile, as we go to cut number 11 here for a moment, apparently the left is trying to plan a nationwide strike on Friday because of capitalism or something, which won't hurt businesses and people who need to work and earn. And boy, nationwide strike on Friday. Is Friday a holiday? No, it's because I guess all these so-called protesters don't have jobs. Therefore, they can do a strike because they don't have the money to buy anything in the first place, I suppose. This is cut number 11. Go.
We're striking Friday. All of us, we are striking Friday.
Okay,
it's a nationwide general strike. That means you don't go to work. You don't go to school. You don't shop. Remember, all of these things are tied into capitalism. It is a socioeconomic system that demands state violence, like what we're seeing in Minneapolis.
So, it's I guess a strike against capitalism. Oh, that's great. And this guy says, you don't go to work. You don't go to school. I'm pretty sure this guy didn't graduate any school that he went to. And certainly there's no work to go to. If you're saying, yay, 3-day weekend. It's funny they're doing it on a Friday, right? Because, you bookend it there. And, with the other holiday weekends we've had recently, yay. This thing's going to be a big bust, I would think. I would hope. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. I have like 4 jobs. There will be no strike on my part because I love to work and I love talking to you guys. And I'd love for you to be back tomorrow night here. Same time, same station. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.